Hey beauties, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I will be reviewing the brand new Natasha Denona Summer Collection. So here I have the bronze eyeshadow palette as well as the bronze cheek palette. I decided to skip on the lip glosses this time, but I do really love her formula. I purchased the coral shade from the spring collection and I really enjoyed it. So if you are in the market for nude glosses, I highly recommend checking them out. I simply decided to save some money this time around. So let's go ahead and begin with this eyeshadow palette. I do love this metallic packaging. I think it is very sexy and sophisticated. This palette retails for $65 and there are 15 eyeshadows inside. And this is what it looks like. It is so warm and rich. It's basically all earth tones, very bronzy of course, but there are a couple standouts like this rhodium shade. This is definitely a pop from the rest. Bliss is a really interesting eyeshadow. I think this color is so pretty. It comes across a little bit more pink. I think most people are going to take a look at this palette and they will know right away if it's right for them. You're going to fall into one of two categories. Either you own all of these colors, this is incredibly boring and you just have no need for this palette, or this is your ideal palette because it's incredibly wearable. You know exactly what to do with all of these shades. So many different possibilities, and there really isn't an eyeshadow in this palette that you're not going to touch. So I think there are two schools of thought when it comes to the bronze palette. I was instantly intrigued when I saw the look of it, but I did think I might be duplicating a lot of shades that I already own. The first time I opened up this palette, I was sort of relieved to find that it's very deep. Like, I think this is a very sexy, sensual type of palette. It's not really what I think of when I think of summer makeup besides bronze, but when I think of bronze summer makeup, I really don't think about the eyes. I think about the face, the body. This palette to me looks very fall. I see pumpkin spice latte, I see fall leaves changing, and I know this is the type of palette that you can honestly wear year round. It's just so wearable, but it does lend itself nicely to fall makeup as well as summer. This is kind of sultry summer in my opinion. So let's take a look at the swatches. I really wanted to show you live swatches of these shadows so you could see the difference between the mattes and the metallics. And of course, arm swatches are only going to show you so much. Of course, it shows you the shade, but it also shows you the texture. It gives you a great idea of what these shadows feel like when you can actually see how they apply on the skin. I think it would be deceptive to build up the mattes so that they look really pigmented and opaque because they simply don't apply that way. For example, let me show you Alloy. Goes so smooth and creamy versus Ridge right next door. You'll see this eyeshadow is a little bit patchy when swatched. It still feels really nice, but it's not quite as pigmented, not quite as creamy. just so you have an idea. And these mattes are beautiful. I think they're going to apply really nicely with brushes to the eye, but I think that's good information to have. It's important to see that there is a big difference between the metallic formula and the matte formula. This color, Deep Dive, this surprised me. And it is slightly metallic, but it's so dark you can't really tell if it's metallic or matte, but this is one of the smoothest dark shadows I've ever seen. Not patchy at all, just beautiful. I used this on my eyes today, zero fallout. I think that is so important when it comes to dark shades. Before we get into the demonstration, let's take a look at this bronze cheek palette. This retails for $55. Again, I love this packaging. I will say, as soon as I took it out of the box, I kind of went like this and I was turning it upside down because the only other cheek palette I have came from that Love collection and it has all of the glitter, so I was somewhat disappointed, but it's still very beautiful. Inside, you have 2 cream cheeks and then you have 2 powder cheeks down here. At the top, you have the Bounce Cream Glow and the Bounce Cream Blush. Now these are very interesting. The texture is bizarre because it's sort of creamy, but it's kind of a gel. They truly do bounce, and it can be a little bit flaky if you rub too hard, so you just have to play around with it. Very interesting texture. And of course you have this little protector to make sure it doesn't dry out as quickly. The Bronze Cream Blush is a very interesting shade. You can see as I tilt the palette, it changes colors. So if it's in direct light, it looks very pale. But as soon as you turn to the shadow, it looks very dark. I think you have to be very careful with placement of this cream, and also you're gonna have to be very careful depending on your skin tone. Down here at the bottom, you have Super Glow Bronze and Super Glow Nude. The nude is going to make a really pretty highlighter on lighter skin tones, medium skin tones. And then this Glow Bronze is going to be really pretty as a cheek topper. But then of course, if you're deeper, this could probably be your highlight. And I think that would be really pretty. And you can also use this as a really nice eyeshadow if you needed to. I mean, you have so many bronze eyeshadows in that palette. I don't know why you would need to grab this, but you have the option, I suppose. So now I'm going to show you the look I created today. The first step to creating today's look, I've picked up a Rephr 15 brush and I'm going into the matte eyeshadow ridge right here. Sort of a medium intensity. And this is going all over the crease. I always concentrate the majority of the color, the majority of the pigment on the outer crease. Once most of the eyeshadow is distributed, then I start blending in. Now with the flat synthetic shader brush, this is an old concealer brush from Chanel, I'm picking up the shade True Bronze. This is going all over the lid. Figure it's the bronze palette, we should play with True Bronze. I'm sweeping this all over the lid up to the crease, and I'm using the flat side of the brush to kind of carve out the crease. It took me a minute to build it up, but once I got it going, it's so pretty. For depth and dimension, I picked up my Rephr 13 brush, and I'm very, very lightly going into Deep Dive. Really slowly, I'm going to work that in the outer V. It's a pretty creamy texture, so if you kind of stamp it on the eye, kind of push it into the outer V, then you can go back later and blend it out. I'm going in now with my original fluffy brush and I'm going to soften that. cleaned off my flat brush and I'm going into the shade in the corner, Gloaming. I'm gonna pick that up and I'm just going to pat that on the lid right here. Kind of that outer lid, outer V. And I'm just gonna use that shade to blend True Bronze into Deep Dive. For the bottom lash line, I picked up a Rephr 14 brush, and I'm picking up the shade Suntan right on the tip, and I'm going to run that beneath the lower lash line. With a tiny precision brush, I'm picking up the shade Silk, and I'm going to very carefully run that in the inner tear duct. I'm back with mascara and eyeliner, and now to finish the look, I'm picking up this bronze cheek palette. I'm taking my little precision brush and I'm going into Super Glow Nude, this shade right here, and I'm gonna pop that in the inner corner. The brow bone, I'm gonna try this Bounce Cream Glow right here. Let's see if I can pick this up with the same brush. It's time to try this bronze cheek palette on the cheek. So to begin, I think I'm gonna open up these creams. On this side, I'm gonna try that Bounce Cream Glow, because it's such an interesting texture. I'm wondering what this will be like to apply to the face. It's like putty. It's putty, but then it sort of flakes on you, so I'm just kind of rubbing, doing the best I can to pick up the product. I have bronzer and blush, but no highlight. Because I looked at this palette, none of these are a bronzer, none of them are really a blush, not for me. So I figured this will be more of a highlighting palette, if anything. So let's see. That's really pretty. It's subtle. It almost has a little bit of a pink undertone. It's kind of pinky gold. It's nice. Oof, I'm not sure about this one. You have to be careful with shades like this because you might apply it in your mirror with lots of light hitting your face and you think it looks really light, but then as soon as you turn your face, it's going to look really muddy. And it's kind of cool toned, so I don't think it's necessarily going to be flattering. I am gonna try it. I think this shade is just going to look nicer on tan skin. It's going to be beautiful, just not on somebody my color or fair. If you're darker, this color is gonna be really pretty. Yeah, I can already tell it looks dark, and then in the light it looks light. And then it kind of casts a bit of a shadow. You might not be able to see it on camera, but I can definitely see it in person. Yeah, like this looks, it actually looks kind of warm on the skin. Looks sort of dark bronze. And then in the light, it's reflective. It's not bad. I thought it might look as cool as it looks in the pan, in which case it would be kind of muddy and make me look dead. I don't think it looks like that. I think it actually is reflecting a lot of warmth. However, it is a little bit deeper for me. I still stand by my opinion. I think this side is going to be better for somebody with darker skin, and then the creamy side is going to be better for somebody who's a little bit lighter. So let's try this Super Glow, the Super Glow Nude. I've picked up a brush now. I'm just gonna dust that on this side. Actually, I'm gonna dust it on my nose. Now that's really pretty. I think that's a nice standard light gold highlight shade. Ooh. The Super Glow Bronze, I don't know about that. I think that will be pretty on the eyes. Same brush, I'm just gonna dust it off. I'm gonna try using that as a blush topper right in the apples of the cheeks. Yeah, I think that's gonna be the best place to apply that. Unless, of course, you have tan skin, in which case that will be really pretty. But if you're really fair, I think you're only really gonna be able to get away with a little bit on the cheek, on top of your blush. Or else it's just going to look bronze right on your skin. This is my finished makeup look for the day, and overall I will say I really like both of these palettes. I think they're really stunning. The eyeshadow palette is maybe a safe bet, but I did not think I was going to like this bronze cheek palette as much as I do. I didn't think these colors were going to be incredibly flattering. I wasn't sure how I was going to put some of these shades to use, but now that I've tried it, I think it's really nice, and I think I'm going to love this even more whenever I have a deep, fresh, sunless tan. If you are very fair, I would proceed with caution. I don't think this is going to be as flattering on somebody with a lighter skin tone or a cool rosy undertone. And I'm generalizing here. I mean, of course, the person who knows best is going to be you, but maybe wait, see it in person, watch as many reviews as possible before you purchase. I think this palette just leans more towards tan skin, and of course it is the bronze palette. It's going to give you that bronze goddess makeup, but if you don't have that base tan underneath, it might not give you the same effect. Now this eyeshadow palette, it's just so wearable. Earth tones. You do have some deeper smoldering shades, so it adds a little bit of drama. It's not a boring palette to look at, and I think most people can look at this palette, know exactly what look they're going to create. It's not overwhelming. You don't have a ton of pops of color that can create confusion and just feel overwhelming. I don't think there's a single shadow in this palette that I'm like, that's going to be the shadow that I don't ever touch. All of these are very wearable. The metallics are really the stars of the show here. I think you can basically find all of these matte shades just about anywhere else, but the texture, how they apply, they're just so beautiful. If you don't like shimmery eyeshadows, I think this is an easy skip for you. It's a really easy palette to love. Now, I will say that I find the layout to be a little bit funny. It's one of the first things I noticed when I opened it up. In pictures, you can't really tell, and I thought this packaging is so beautiful. I looked at it, and I just kind of scratched my head a bit. There's just something about it that doesn't make a ton of sense, but I do think you could probably go in rows. Like, these three shades seem to work well together, these three shades, so on and so forth. So just in case you find palettes this size to be a bit overwhelming, you can always look at it that way. I think if you start at the top and just work down, each of those little trios seem to go nicely together. If you don't already own a lot of earthy, bronzy palettes like this, I think it will be perfect for you. And it is perfect by itself. This is one complete palette. You can create so many different looks using just this palette. You won't have to pick up anything else. So I think in that way, it's kind of bronze perfection, but I cannot help but look at this palette and just want to customize. That was my second thought. As soon as I opened this up, I thought, ooh, because I remembered these little holes in the back so you can easily pop out each of these shades. And I instantly thought of this Love palette from Spring. This is my only other Natasha Denona palette, and I do love these colors. But what's missing from this palette? Transition shades, earth tones. Well, this palette is full of transition shades and earth tones, so I think at some point, I wanted to wait to film this video so you could see it in its original form, but at some point I am going to pop out all of these eyeshadows and I am just going to custom create 2 Natasha Denona palettes. So you have some pinks, some earth tones, and some pops of color. And I want to take my time to think about it, really plan it out, but I also think that could be a really fun video idea. So if you guys would like to see what I'd come up with mixing these 2 palettes together, let me know down below in the comment section because I think that could be a lot of fun. And I feel like I could do a great job putting together 2 different palettes. Not that Natasha Denona didn't do an incredible job because both of these palettes are masterpieces in their own right, but the pink purple palette stays pink purple and I only pull it out if I want to play with those colors. And the same thing is true with this palette. As much as there are endless possibilities, you're really going to be creating 50 variations of the same color story because a lot of these shades are very similar. That completes today's review. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed it and you found it helpful. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Leave me your comments, questions down below. I'm very curious to hear your thoughts on this palette. Do you think it's really boring or do you think it is just the summer essential of 2020? Let me know down below in the comment section. We will keep the conversation going there. As always, I will be linking everything mentioned, everything on my face down in the description box. That's for your convenience. And for more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell.